So I think you can all agree that one of the biggest mysteries in the Metroid series is found in the Genesis Chambers in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. It's the room that we've come across near the end of the adventure on Planet Phase. It's actually where the Leviathan seeds are grown. But the mystery starts when we look around the room and find multiple Metroid Prime husks littered throughout the room. And you would think that this would be a good opportunity to flesh out the little lore we have about the original Metroid Prime from the first game, but sadly the only info that we get is that these husks are indeed identical to the creature found on Talon 4. So with not much to really go off of, all we're left with is just a bunch of questions. Why are there husks? Where are the Prime Cores? Was Dark Samus involved in all this? Did the original Metroid Prime that we fought on Talon 4 come from Phase? Does this mean that Metroids originally come from Planet Phase? It's all kind of confusing because, again, there isn't really much to really talk about with this room. So for today's video, I'd like to go over a few theories to explain why we find husks on Planet Phase like this. Of course, keep in mind this is just all purely speculation, and of course I'll let you know what you guys think. What were your guys' interpretation of this room? And of course, if you like Metroid content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, consider becoming a member for like unique perks for the channel, and of course let's get started. So initially, I think a lot of people would assume the presence of the husks would mean that the Metroid Prime we fought from the first game must have come from Phase, with even some going as far as even speculating that this is probably maybe the true origin of the Metroid species. And if you played the North American GameCube version of the first Prime game, this speculation does line up with some scans saying that the Metroid Prime came to Talon 4 aboard the Leviathan seed. This would be some really like lore-shattering stuff right here, but of course those scans from that North American GameCube version got retconned when the game was ported internationally, changing the scan so that the Metroid Prime's origin was a bit different. Instead of coming from the planet aboard the Leviathan seed, now it's more implied that it actually grew from a stray Metroid that was brought to Talon 4 after the events of Metroid 1/0 mission. Also, shameless plug, if you want a little bit more context about the North American retconning and what it changed, I made like 2 videos talking about it, one about the Metroid Prime specifically, and one about the general changes. And since then, with the Trilogy port and the Prime remaster using the retcon scans, as well as Samus Returns and Metroid Dread now reinforcing the fact that Metroids originate from Master Earth 88, we can safely say that the idea that the husks mean that the Metroid Prime came from Phase is not possible. Besides, even if we were looking exclusively at the original scans with the context of Prime 3, it still wouldn't really work. The original scans stated that the Metroid Prime developed its armor by stealing space pirate technology on Talon 4, so it would not make any sense for any of the husks to look identical to the Talon Metroid Prime, since space pirate technology that the Metroid Prime used to develop its armor wouldn't be on Phase. This leads us to our second idea on why there's husks all over the Genesis Chamber, and it actually involves Dark Samus. So the general idea is that Dark Samus brought the Metroids to Phase after finding the planet. It's probably because Dark Samus was a Metroid herself, so maybe she just likes the species. But for whatever reason, it seems like Metroids are the only thing she actually likes. So I think it's pretty plausible that she brought Metroids with her when she went to Phase. She would definitely have access to the Metroid species after corrupting the space pirates on Eutragus. So once the Metroids were introduced to the planet, the sheer amount of Phazon would mutate the Metroids up to their prime form. But unlike the Talon Prime, who only had a limited amount of Phazon due to the impact crater being contained, these Phase Primes would have an entire planet worth of Phazon to consume. So maybe the husks are hints that maybe the Phase Primes molted and evolved beyond the prime form, or there's just a bunch of prime cores floating around because they're in their natural environment. Either way, we can interpret this as just a moment to like show the player that if Dark Samus isn't stopped, the cycle of Leviathan seeds and Metroid Primes spreading throughout the planet would just be an endless cycle. Alternatively though, there's another idea. Similar to before, Dark Samus would introduce Metroids to Phase, and they would mutate up to their prime forms. But in this case, Dark Samus would kill the new primes and absorb their prime cores. The little bit of info we know about the husks is that they are visibly dry, which is a potential sign of death by Metroid. There's also an ability that Dark Samus has that is called the Dark Echo. She can create basically a duplicate of herself. It's not really explained how Dark Samus got this ability, since it isn't really a variant of any of Samus's normal abilities. But if Dark Samus is just a Metroid Prime core inside a Phazon suit, I know, really reductive, but like basically that's what she is, then is it possible that she absorbed the other Metroid Prime core so that she can gain her Dark Echo ability? She would absorb these cores within her and later expel out a core and control it like a puppet. Dark Samus is definitely gluttonous for more power, and Metroids tend to be heartless, with the only exception honestly just being the baby, but like, that's the baby. And honestly, I wouldn't really be shocked if like Dark Samus killed her own kind just to get more strength. Plus, it would be an interesting way to foreshadow a new ability since it is pretty much before the boss fight that introduced this ability. Although we gotta remember this is just pure speculation because at the end of the day I don't think we really have a solid grasp of what Dark Samus' motives were and if she would really even care about like growing Metroids at all. I think she was probably a lot more focused on like, you know, controlling planet Phase itself than opposed to just, you know, populating it with Metroids. And maybe we're all just looking too far into it. At the end of the day, this could honestly be something as simple as Dark Samus introducing space pirates to the planet Phase. They'd attempt to do some experiments since we do know they were messing around with Phazon and Metroids, and just like in Talon 4, a couple of Metroids escaped captivity and just infested the planet as they were more than likely supercharged with Phazon. And this is just an indirect way to confirm that the Metroid Prime is indeed a Metroid. For as simple as that explanation is, I feel like it's honestly like the best explanation. It feels like typical space pirate behavior in general, and we've seen Metroids infest like SR-388 pretty quickly, so they can more than likely take over planet Phase pretty quickly, which could explain why there's so many Metroid eggs and mutations throughout the entire planet when we explore it. And finally, I like it for it being a cool parallel to how the first Metroid Prime was created, being created as a result of space pirates poorly handling Metroids. But of course, what do you guys think though? Did you enjoy the video? Did you learn anything new hopefully about the Genesis Caves for what little we know about them? And do you have your own interpretations for what this room is supposed to be? Because at the end of the day, with how little we know, you can kind of think of a lot of interesting reasons for why this room exists. Actually, while doing the research for this video, I kind of came across like a little rabbit hole to explain another reason for why these husks are here and all that, but that kind of deserves its own theory because it kind of goes into the idea of, is Dark Samus truly on the side of Phazon? But that's a theory for its own time. Hopefully I can get to that eventually, right? But of course, if you like Metroid content, please feel free to click on the video above, which is a two-part video explaining or talking about my top 20 favorite boss themes throughout the series. It's a really cool video. I really do enjoy it a lot. It was a good excuse to listen to a bunch of Metroid music, so it was pretty cool. And of course, member shoutouts to ZDS Pro. Big shoutouts for Zodias, actually. You know, we've collabed for 2 Pokeshort episodes, the X-Parasites and the Zabesians and all that, so please feel free to also check out his channel and all that. It does good content, as well as Vic, Arrowman Allen, Benjamin E. Mueller, and Rose Maverick Sains for being channel supporters. Feel free to join if you're interested, but no pressure. As long as you enjoy the videos, that's all that really matters. With that being said, I'm the Metroid Trainer. I hope you like, favorite, subscribe, and stick around for next time because I'll be seeing you later. I gotta immediately work on the next video, oh my god.